what type of training do you think a parent would need to, um, facilitate the use of this device with their child at home?
Yeah, so absolutely. So schools should be providing training to their parents. And so you can ask for that AT training, you can ask for that parent training. And there's also tons of information online. If you Google AAC devices, there are lots of SLPs that have great information that they've built out onto websites online. A lot of the manufacturers of the different apps, assistive wear, which is Proloco to go, Lamp, PRC, they all do, and Toby do a great job at providing that information. And here's something that a lot of schools don't even know. If once you have feature matched and selected a device, the rep for that particular company or maker, oftentimes there are regional reps all over, and they will provide training for free to the
Wow.
school. They will
Wow.
come in and they will train. And it's just a matter of the school dedicating the time to get those providers and the people that are going to work with your student, and the parent can come to set aside that time to prioritize that training. But without that training, we can't implement. It's again, it's another language.
Exactly.
So you can't just kind of drop the device in front of them and say, speak. It
Exactly.
you can't do it any more than you drop your teenager in front of the wheel of that car and say, drive. We know they'll try it. We're not always
Right.
happy with the results. So I would say read as much as you can. There are a lot of support groups, a lot of good websites, and then get connected, hopefully with a private and outside SLP, to further support that speech at school, that is, that has a background in AAC devices. Um, and just probably my biggest um, pet peeve and note for parents, because sometimes they get it from school, they get it from well-meaning people at school sometimes, that there is a requirement for, hey, if you want your child to say chicken nuggets, then, hey, you have to say this before you get them. You have to say it. You have to say it. They may not say it. And
Right.
so modeling is what we need to do with devices, just like we do with oral speech. You model a word, they may or may not use it in that moment, but
Mhm.
trust me, they're paying attention. Even if they're not watching the screen. But the moment we make it into some kind of compliance-based um, work,
Uh,
kids do what kids and adults do, frankly. I'm not doing that. You can't make me, and I'll show you. And
right.
they'll push it away. So model it without expectation. It is a language they're learning, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time, but it's really amazing to see that progression.
Model without expectation because it's going to take time. And
Absolutely.
that is profound because that is huge.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I took 4 years of Spanish in high school, but I still wasn't fluent. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You've got to give them time. So let me ask you a question because I know that your expertise lies in that, school age child.
Mhm.
What, if any, advice do you have for that parent who now has that adult child that has aged out of school? Um, how do they get access to this?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of great private practice SLPs. I know that, and look, at the end of the day, you don't even need, if you can't access private speech for, monetary reasons or whatever, geographical even. There are some virtual services depending on where you are. There are some state grants, there's some nonprofit grants to help access those devices or the apps. But, my go-to is always to have a professional help you feature match, because you're going to see more growth and more results with a device and a language that meets your child's needs.
Right.
Because they don't all do that. There are different, again, it's called motor planning. That's really just how you get and navigate through the device and the language. But they have different motor plans.
Okay.
And one may work better for a student than another. So I'm always a big proponent of getting some assistance to help guide you in that selection.
Okay.
But I have, people sometimes do just pick, pick an app and try it out on their own. Usually twice a year, a lot of the major providers have a massive sale on the apps to kind of celebrate Communication Month and AAC awareness. So sometimes I've had some families of adult kiddos grab it then and just kind of be like, look, we're gonna try it. We can't access a professional for whatever the reason is, and just see. But checking out kind of your state resources, checking out what your insurance may have available to you to get some guidance on that selection. And then it's the same thing. You model it without that expectation, and just it's going to take time. They're not necessarily going to pick it up and after a day just be spouting off full paragraphs of speech, but give them that time.
Right.
And excuse me, give them that time, and they will have the ability to really start to communicate and effectively change their environment.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you another question. How does the use of an AAC device evolve as a child grows?
So I'm always a big believer in not having any parts of the AAC device locked up and limiting their language.
Okay.
So I don't believe in having sections walled off and they're only going to have, they're only going to have 40 words right now, or they're only going to have 20 words right now. So I always have mine for my child, and I advocate for my clients to have theirs completely unlocked, because the fact of the matter is everybody else's third grader has access to every word in the English language,
Right.
even the words we don't want them to have access to. They've got access. So
Yes.
why are we deciding that a student, just because they use AAC, isn't allowed that same word, even if they're going to get in trouble for using that word?
Right. Right.
So, it evolving is going to be the student, as long as we're modeling and mirroring that communication, right? Because they can't just communicate to themselves into like a little silo. We want other people to be to hopefully be using another device, to be mirroring and letting them have that conversation with you and using their vocabulary. And we're still growing that as they evolve, right? Just like a 2-year-old's language is different than a 5-year-old's language, is different than a 15-year-old's language. So using and showing them all of those different words that we use when we're using oral speech. So when we start out, it might be let's go, right? Or I see the red truck. But as they get older, it's that Mercedes was fast. Or
Right.
we're going to be changing and using different language to express wants, needs, comment, refuse and negate things. It's going to, start with stop, and it's going to be like, then don't do that, or I hate that. You're driving me crazy.
Right.
Really frustrated right now. I don't know why my Apple app is malfunctioning. I mean, those are words that, are upper level speech, right? We'll get there. We'll progress to where the student is able to progress if we're providing that modeling. They need to see and hear those words just as they would in oral speech on their AAC device.
Okay. Okay. So the AAC device is a supplement to parent communication. So should a parent still be um, communicating with their child uh, the same way they would verbally along with the device? Or should it be like, okay, well, I'm only just going to show them?
Oh no, use it all. Use it all. So, the phrases right now that you'll hear a lot are multimodal and total communication. But just, you'll see that, using oral speech again, because they're still hearing the words, unless they have a hearing impairment, they're hearing the words that come out of your mouth, your speech, and you also want to model on the device so they can see where the motor planning is and how you're navigating to those different screens, so they can learn where those words are and how to get there. So you kind of want to go in all directions, but you want to bring that device with you everywhere. So it doesn't belong just at home. It doesn't belong just at school. You're going to take it to the doctor's office. You're going to take it to a friend's play date. You're going to take it to the zoo. You're going to take it in the car. And those all provide you with different opportunities to explore different words. And, just as much as you want to use whatever your mode of communication is, right? Whether it's oral speech, you want to also integrate in that AAC. And for little kids, it's much more simple than sometimes people think. You don't need to model to your, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old, I want to eat a cheese sandwich now.
Right.
That's a lot of words, especially for a brand new user. You start out with, 1, 2 word utterances. They're called utterances. And
Okay.
then if once that child gets pretty consistent on 1 or 2 words, then you want to be modeling 1 or 2 units of speech ahead. So if they're doing 2 word phrases, you want to model 3 and 4. So you start with get milk. Okay. I need milk.
Gotcha.
Or, oh, I'm thirsty now. You just give them a way to expand that sentence. And then that's kind of how it starts to grow and expand.